My name is Peter Nigst. I'm head of school of architecture here in Carinthia at Spital an der Trau. I welcome you for this lecture, and my idea is to speak about some basic ideas of refurbishment and renovation strategy respecting architecture. Of course, it's a quite interesting field, and I hope that these ideas I try to offer to you maybe it's a little help for the workshop we will have. I have tried to make some different examples, to form out some different examples, and I start with example 1. That means not recognizing the importance and quality of buildings and space. This example is one of destroying Sanatorium Ludlen step by step for reuse as a student's dormitory in 1969 and as a hotel in 2006 after being under protection as a historical monument of the proto-modern movement in Vienna. This building was done by Robert Oerle in the year of 1907. This is 2 years before the famous house on Michaelerplatz from Adolf Loos, and was one of the most important buildings in Vienna of this proto-modern movement. The last floor of the building with the 2 octagonal operation rooms has been eliminated in 1967, unfortunately. Robert Oerle did there the first time this modern idea of operation rooms, which are without any example at that time, and this was destroyed. You could see the elevation here with the volumes on top, and it's a Monnier construction of concrete, which was very new at that time, and a very big experiment to place these volumes on top. By that, what happened, this building is harmed substantially. So also the authority, which should look to the protected objects, couldn't help in that way. So you could not rely on that in any case. The example 2, which I want to introduce to you, deals with recognizing the quality of vernacular buildings, and it's carefully done, a carefully done placement in the landscape, which is repeated with an additional new part. It's a building by Peter Zumthor. It was already done in 1990 up to 1994. It's called House Bugalo in Versam. It's the eastern part of Switzerland at Graubünden. It's a so-called Strickbau. It's a type of log construction by layered wooden beams. You could see it on the photo. Zumthor transformed from old to new and is creating continuity. Also, there are significant differences in the wooden construction. You can watch this outside and also, of course, inside. Looking through the windows cuts out small parts of the landscape. They are differentiated, the form of the windows are differentiated, but in the same moment they are similar. The wooden parts tell its own story about their lifetime and are related how you watch them, about something more. You could see some drawings of the old part and the new part of the house. The larger one is the new part, and the Strickbau on the left side. Sections and floor plan again. The reason of differentiation are the changed conditions for the new living part of the house. By insulation, the new intelligent type of wall, the system is more energy efficient. But of course it's related to the Strickbau in some way. The parts are joined by sewing them together with the material wood. I come to example 3. That means recognizing the quality of existing architecture and in its context by concept combining the old structures carefully with new elements. That is creating tension by contrast in material and form, but not by contrast in scale. That's very important for you to think about it. Always or very often scale is this linking element of old and new. Contrast of old and new. The example is from Carlo Scarpa about Museo Castelvecchio at Verona. It also was done about 50 years ago, 1958 to 1961. And it's like two different layers of old and new, which are very intelligent arranged. It was a speciality of Carlo Scarpa to act like this and to show this differentiation between old and new. So nothing is going from one thing to the other in continuity, so he differentiates these, and it's like different layers which you clearly can read. I come to example 4. It's dealing with to build in an urban context by integrating new elements in a good scale. All these, or most of these references I show to you are mentioned in Neues Bauen in Alte Umgebung. It's a book which was from 1978 by Michael Gensler at Munich, and it was a very exciting collection which also was very important for me during that time, the years after I have finished my studies and was starting to work as an architect. Therefore, I go back to this source. For example, you see a bridge beside a bridge, the old one, and beside a new one, related to characteristic elements of the town. That was one of the main things Carlo Scarpa was realizing. He was a man walking in the town of Venice and also in the town of Verona, and he has his daily walks there and was passing by the different small sites where he was doing small jobs but very important jobs which are related or which are linked together like a network of places. You can find a similar thing with Joseph Plečnik at Laibach. He also does like this, and it's a network you can find in the town. This is in front of Musea Querina Stampiglia at Venezia, and it also more than 55 years that it was realized. So So it's a good time to have a distance about 50 or 60 years. You can see things more clearly than maybe 10 or 20 years later. Another example is by Gino Valle. It's an architect from Friulia. He was working at Udine, and he gets very famous about this house using steel and at the same time integrating proportions. It's in the main place at Udine. It's via Mercato Vecchio, and it's a house with steel frames, steel elements, and you could see it's just near beside the old houses of traditional solid building materials, and you can find out they are corresponding very well, both of them. In spite, there's a new material, there's steel, which at the first moment will maybe try to be strange for the city, but it isn't strange. I come to example 5, to build in urban context by integrating new architecture which is not based on contrast. So quite another thing we had before. I take a classic building which has been Hotel de Ville, who was changed in a long-term process from 1934 to 1937 to the Gothenburg law courts, so-called law courts, by the realization of Gunnar Asplund's project. There have been many years before several attempts to change the Hotel de Ville to this law court, and it takes a lot of years till this project could be realized. It's very important that you can see a kind of tension again with a balance of old and new. But the additional part is stepping back in its appearance, in the outside view, as a reference to the already familiar urban context. So it's not a big gesture to say that's my new building here. So it's in the second, more or less in the second row. And also the axis of the old part is still dominating. The other one steps back a little bit. It's a wonderful building, and we had the possibility to have our Sweden excursion 4 years ago and to see it inside and outside. And of course, this is a view from the outside with the feeling you have. If you go to the view of the courtyard, where there's old and new differentiated, but more or less more in an equal weight, one against the other, one besides the other. I come to example 6, renovation of buildings partly destroyed during World War II by not hiding the act of repairing, to have visible the emergency measures which have been necessary forever. So it's not hidden. It's the renovation of the old Pinakothek at Munich, and the idea is to show the traces of history clearly. It is a cultural artifact. What was the end of this? The old building is by Leo von Klenze in 1826 up to 1836. After World War II, the old which was the building was destroyed in World War II, and the old Pinakothek was rebuilt by Hans Dölgast from 1946 to 1957, and he used the bricks of old other destroyed buildings and materials which I could get in this period immediately after the war. And though it's a kind of collection of remembrance on what was, and this is more or less at the same time visible. So you have a reduction which comes from this, what is viable to do this building. You could see some photos we did some years ago during visiting Munich, and you could see how people quite normal use these parts of which are added to the destroyed building in a quite usual way, as a sitting bench and some places where which are quite normal and accepted in the situation of the town of today. People are living with the traces of the history. Example 7 is I've taken existing buildings and the modern extensions. I take a 2-storied vertical extension in a fine and modern metal glass structure as a light-weighted continuation of the volume. It's a situation which was used for Hotel am Kurfürstendamm at Berlin and was done by Paul Baumgarten in 1957. Another situation is a school building in Vienna at Nagtorgasse by Andreas Treusch. The building was too small and the intention was necessary. It's at the same time it's a vertical and horizontal extension, and you can see there's a combination of 2 different philosophies of architecture which are combined in a good way. So it's also a model how you can work with a renovation and some extension which gets necessary to make it visible. Example 8, to watch and to organize the process of refurbishment according to the architectonic concepts very well. Otherwise, it comes like follows. So you could see a very negative example. This is not the negative part of the examples. This is quite normal. It was also in the 50s. It has been apartment blocks in Vienna of the Atomic Energy Authority, where the employed could live there in Vienna in an estate, in a housing estate. In these apartment blocks, they're very strange for Vienna in the 19th district, but it has its quality. And of course, energy efficiency brought it about. They should be renovated, and you could see how the renovation was done. And you could see nearly everything which is a character of the houses will disappear. So this concept is in some way sustainable in the sense of no revisability. So you invested this money to do this, and there's no way back to make it like it was not happening. So you have finished refurbishment in 2003 up to 2004. And we should think at that time that we would be more intelligent into doing such a solution. Example 9. To keep the quality standards of architectonic details by well-thought improvements of details to guarantee the usability or to save an important building under protection. So there are 2 examples I want to show. One example is in the 3rd district of Vienna, in Neulinggasse. It's a house from the late 20s. From outside quite a normal house, but on the back side, a courtyard side, a very small courtyard which is looking to the north. There have been a steel glass facade at that time, which was very nice and very expressive, and which is showing the modern movement in a quite more or less normal building of the time. So it was a new approach to that. And this came in the years, more or less, and of course it should be renovated. At the same time you have to make improvements, small improvements. So this is a type which has to be, a type of renovation which has to be done very well. You have to think about the elevator, how you can use it again, or how you can continue with some special solution. And you also have to make improvements with the glass, and you have to make improvements with the metal parts. So they are quite okay for 2014. This is an example for this intelligent renovation with well thought, perpetuated details. Another thing is a renovation process of 1995, more or less very important building of Erich Mendelssohn, the so-called Einstein Tower, which was built in 1921. And of course there were big troubles keeping this monument, and there was a process of some years which was finished then in 1995, and I could see, together with Gerhard Pichler, who is has been a very good engineer from Carinthia, who was working in Berlin, we could see all the troubles which are connected with the renovation of such a protected monument. It was a very hard job and was done in a very good way. And of course it's like being in a operation room, yes, so it was a house of, it was housed in some way, and you could come to the details completely nearly, like if you are a doctor with the instruments, yes. And of course it's a very special kind of this, but you also should think in the different possibilities of cases you can be confronted, that you have to solve a problem like this. The housing estate is in Switzerland. It's called Tivoli, and it's at Chur. It's again in the eastern part of Switzerland at Graubünden. And I take it out from work, from a research work of our university. It was called NASA Nachhaltiges Sanieren. That means to have a checklist for sustainable refurbishment. This is a view of the old situation from the street. You could see these 6-story buildings, which seems quite normal and not so nice maybe. And if you go to the project, you could see what have been old buildings of the now changing projects, and you could see this with B, the new build elements which are done additional. You couldn't see on this plan that there will be also facade zones, layers which are additional. I go to the next photos that you could see. So new loggias are able to change the image totally. You could see it. It's another image. It seems to be another house. Of course, people who were living there could stay after, could come back to this house, and they now have a big quality in living and in using this area. So I hope that these references can help you during the work of the intensive program RENOpass during the following 2 weeks, and I wish you good luck for this.